Oh gosh, I used to hate it when my parents would tell me it's all about who you know, but it is.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to be where I am, and I will fully stand by that and continue to tell all my students that it's about making connections, no matter how small or big. It's having those resources in your back pocket to reach out to, like, hey, we met, a year ago and we did this thing together, and most likely that person's going to remember you.
Right.
And if you did a good job, making that good impression, it's going to follow you and it's going to help you in the long run.
This is the Buffalo Community Podcast, all about the greatest small town in the USA, the people in it, and how it all works together. Here are your hosts, Tyler Reiss and Mark Benzer.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Episode number 93 of the Buffalo Community Podcast, just inching closer and closer to that century mark. Hopefully we get there.
Yeah, I think we're going to call it quits in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Next week we have a big one.
I'm excited about our guest today. I've known Shanley for a really, really long time. Another Arlanda Avenue thing we got going on. So a lot of great talent came from Arlanda Avenue.
Absolutely.
And
Ask us.
Yeah, if you don't know already, you're about to find out. But we have a 2012 Buffalo High School graduate, currently a school counselor at Buffalo High School, and also a member of the Buffalo Strong Community Group, Shanley Braun. Thanks for coming. Shanley Maher, sorry.
Oh,
That's all right.
Rewind. Shanley Maher, thank you for being in studio with us today, and
Thanks
glad
for
to have
having
you.
me.
Yeah,
Thanks for
absolutely.
having me.
We'll touch on your school counselor job. We'll also, we have the Buffalo Strong graphic right behind you there. Why don't we start there?
Okay.
Give us a little bit of information on that, what it is, and what's coming.
Yeah. So Buffalo Strong kind of originated last year with the tragedy that kind of happened here in Buffalo. A community group got put together, and we decided that we needed to do something in honor and kind of talk about the mental health issues that are all around us and that need to be discussed. And so this group kind of got created. I was kind of just saying I kind of weaseled myself into it.
Nice.
I'm very happy about it, though. This is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm very passionate about mental health and our students and our community. Obviously, it's a very important community to myself. So this Buffalo Strong Day is kind of what we're calling it, and we're going to be having a speaker, Clint Malarchuk. He's a retired NHL goalie and coach who is now doing speaking tours and kind of talking about mental health, how it's affected him in his life, and how we can best support people that are kind of going through the same things that he went through, and just bringing awareness to mental health in general.
So Clint is, I guess, probably I don't want to say like the highlight or the peak of
Keynote speaker is what
keynote
the phrase
speaker
is.
Of the day. But there's more to that day than just Clint Malarchuk coming to town. What else is going to be going on that day?
Yeah, so we have him all day. He's going to be around town all day doing different appearances and speaking. But that week in general, at the high school, we're going to be promoting mental health, wellness, and kind of encompassing it all. So we're all having communications about it, verbiage, and our students want it. And we want to be discussing it. It's important to talk about. It's important to shed light on. It's always had a stigma attached to it, and we want to break that stigma. So there's going to be events happening all around BHS that week, just talking about mental health and how we can better ourselves moving forward, and different supports that are put in place.
So he speaks on Wednesday, February 9th, up at the Performing Arts Center from 7 to 8.
Yes.
And if you can't get there, we're actually going to interview him here as a part of the Buffalo Community Podcast. So you get to see a different version of maybe his hour-long talk, or maybe we just let him talk for an hour, but a little more in-depth conversation with him. So if you can't make it up there, if you can, great, go up there and see him speak. If you can't, you can always tune in here February 9th, or probably the day after that is when our interview will air.
Yeah. And that Buffalo community group, the Buffalo Strong community group, was instrumental in getting him here, which we really appreciate. That's very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to an opportunity to meet him and have him tell his story, I guess, again. So we'll have that record.
Absolutely. That night, too, in addition to him, we will be having a resource fair before and after his speaking event. We kind of have it encompassing all dimensions of wellness, so physical, mental health, social, emotional, kind of everything that encompasses a person. So we have different supports and resources there. So if he's going to be talking about some kind of heavy stuff, and it might elicit some conversations and some thoughts, and we'll have those resources available for people before and after to just reach out and get more info. We also are going to have a childcare during, so if you do have like young kids that you can't get a babysitter for, we will have some of our students, our NHS students, that are going to be available to kind of corral them and
date night.
Yeah.
Kids.
Yeah. I would anticipate a pretty heavy turnout.
I hope so.
Yeah. Not being able to know for sure, but I would imagine if you want to be there, checking out the resources prior to the talk, getting there early, I guess, per se. Do you
know what time doors open?
6.
6. Okay. So you have an hour before he speaks to go there, check it out. So, well, thanks for putting that part together. Let's find out a little bit more about you, school counselor. You started your job in 2020. Excellent timing.
Yes.
Excellent timing, as far as the world goes. 30,000-foot view, what does a school counselor do right now?
A lot. We kind of do everything in regards to mental health. We can do some counseling and supports for our students, advocating for our students, and then we kind of have that clerical side of things of doing schedules and registration, presentations to kids. We kind of follow 3 domains, and that's social emotional, academic, and college and career readiness. So we kind of encompass preparing our students for life after high school, along with supporting them through their time in high school. So. I know back when I was in high school, back in the guidance counselor days, it was really, there was a couple different ways you could get in front of your counselor. And it was either getting to a point where somebody recommended you get in front of your counselor or being proactive about it. If you didn't want to talk to your counselor, didn't want to utilize your counselor, didn't really have to. I mean, is it similar? I mean, you work with a lot of kids. Yeah. And to be super hands-on with all of them it's impossible, I would imagine. So is that similar today in terms of? Yeah, it's pretty similar. We try to get right out in front of our kids in 9th grade to show our faces, to have them get to know us, and know that we're a resource for them in any way that they want to utilize us. If they want to come in and change their schedule and just have a baseline conversation with us, we're there. If they are struggling with something or need someone just to reach out or listen or just sit with for a little bit, we're there for that too. So they can come in and make an appointment. We have a secretary that they can make an appointment. She can see our schedules. Or they can reach out to us via email, stop us in the hallway, any way that works for them. We might end up pulling a student down too just for a general reason, just to kind of get our face out there more and just make those connections that they do feel comfortable saying hi to us in the hallway. And feeling like they can make an appointment is my biggest thing. Like, I just want you to know that I'm here and you can make an appointment.
Sure.
You don't have to by any means if you don't want to utilize me.
Yeah. I guess you don't necessarily have the perspective of pre-COVID and now, but I would imagine you'd have a good understanding of like how the school counselor role has changed. Like, what are you seeing? I would imagine there's maybe more of the mental health that you're seeing as opposed to prior to COVID.
Yeah.
But kind of to touch on that.
Yeah. So I had 6 months before COVID hit that I was long-term subbing and kind of getting my internship hours in. And so I have a brief intro into a non-COVID year. But it is significantly more social anxiety that we're seeing getting kids into the school. It was tough before COVID, and then we're all at home, and school looked vastly different. And now those kids that you felt like were kind of on the edge, it just feels like we've completely lost them, and we're really trying to throw out those lifesavers and get them back in and making them feel comfortable. I mean, BHS is a big school, and if you haven't even taken a step in there, like some of our middle schoolers that were coming up during COVID, it's a big change going from somewhere you feel comfortable at the middle school and then coming in, and it's a big high school with, big seniors walking by and, just feeling uncomfortable. I think the social anxiety and then the depression that kind of comes along with that is huge right now.
How do you battle that? I mean, is even just getting them to talk, I mean, they get through the door, they're talking. How do you battle that? I mean, there's only so much as just singular human beings that we can do. Kind of some kid that wants to talk. I mean, do you have resources to be able to go further than just thank you for talking?
Yeah, yep. We definitely have resources that we can send them home with. We have community resources, so if it's something more significant than what we can provide as school counselors, we refer them out. We're seeing a high number of hospitalizations, a high number of wait lists for mental health, like therapists. There's wait lists, beds aren't open. It's all across the state, all across the nation.
For what? I mean,
for mental
health beds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's heavy.
I mean, physical health too. Yeah, with COVID numbers and stuff, those beds are not there either. So it's a mixture of everything.
Yeah. I think we take life for granted. I mean, kids that don't know, I mean, if you've never been there, or if you are feeling like that, you should have a resource to be able to go talk to it. But like you said, I mean, it's getting better, I think, but there is such a historical stigma of talking of, hey, I have a problem, a mental problem. I can't talk about it. Or you may feel pigeonholed into feeling some way of saying, well, I shouldn't talk like this because I'm a man. I should just suck it up. To people feeling like that, I mean, is there just that word of encouragement or just, do you think they feel more comfortable in front of a stranger or somebody that they know? Probably
a stranger,
yeah.
Which helps us in a way, because we all kind of start as strangers right away. And what I've viewed is they feel a lot more comfortable coming and talking to us than mom and dad to start that conversation. And I always give them the opportunity, like, do you want me to bridge that gap with parents? Because sometimes it's easier coming from a third party rather than the student. It's kind of an emotional topic, especially if they're really struggling. And so to be that bridge for them is huge. And it's exactly why I do what I do. So for them to feel comfortable is key.
Yeah, right. What did your job look like through like distance learning and through, I'm sure you had these kids that you were meeting with and maybe making some progress with and like going, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, like you lose that, you lose this.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was hard. And right when I came in, it was hard to reach out and figure out who these kids were. Like, I had no idea. I'd met maybe a few of them the 3 days before, but...
it was just 3 days?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
3 full in-person days before we went distance learning. But we rolled with it, and everybody... It kind of leveled the playing field, so I felt very comfortable. And, you know, like you said, I was BHS grad, and, you know, my counselor is still there, and other supports that I had are still there. So it was a very comfortable position to come into, especially in a terrible time. So it was a lot of phone calls, lots of emails, you know, and sometimes you can't get adults to check their emails, let alone a 14-year-old boy, you know.
Yeah. How is that? I mean, like, again, you've got this child, and we're not obviously not asking for specifics, but I mean, is that bridging that gap from parents to kids? I mean, is that usually a key factor of like, hey, there needs to be more communication here, which could really eliminate some of this stuff, or parent involvement or anything like that? Yeah,
parent involvement is huge. You know, we try to, if we can't get a hold of the student, we get a hold of the parent.
Yep.
And that's the first step of getting them re-engaged back in school, or just having those conversations. So it's a lot of reach out. It's better when they're back in school. I mean, it's been significantly better. It's not as much chasing.
Easier to go down to room 104.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, let's take a walk here. But it was pretty tough that first year and a half of, I mean, kids were learning right alongside of us, and it was hard to kind of wrap our arms around and remind them that we're there. I just had a student the other day say, like, it's just nice for you to remind me of my resources. Like, I forget, you know, and then I forget, like, they're wrapped up in their whole world, you know, like they're not thinking about their school counselor or the resources that they have at the high school, that it's important just to see them face to face and let them know.
I remember one story from high school, although you could never find a record of it, but is I was in a science class, and it was like, oh yeah, you need a science class. And I just checked one. And I'm like, there's not a lot of kids in this science class. And I'm like, it's pretty remedial science. Like, I just blew the project out of the water. And like, the teacher's like, why are you in this class? And it was like a remedial science class. I was like, I just picked science. Nobody told me, like, because I didn't meet with a counselor or anything like that. But it was a teacher identifying that and said, nah, you go to that advanced. I enjoyed science, and it was just all about the cell. And he just looks at me like, why are you here? Like, this isn't your class, you know, get out of here. But so I was mainstreamed because I checked the wrong box. But I remember seeing that, and he just asked, why are you here? This isn't your class. I'm like, oh, that makes a whole lot of sense right now. But anyway.
Yeah, I think that is one thing I've talked about a lot of times since high school is I didn't realize the resources that were there, like for free, that will help you, guide you to do, you know, whatever. And it's just, and then you graduate, and then all of a sudden you're in the real world, and you go like, wow, like all of that was just right. Now I gotta pay for it, or now I gotta, you know, make an appointment and wait, you know, whatever. So, moving outside of the mental health stuff, maybe for parents or for kids, like what else do you offer? Like, what do you know, maybe going to the college prep side, that's part of your work. I'm sure you do a lot of that. Like, what does that look like? Yeah.
A little bit of everything. So we're available for individual meetings with students regarding after school plans. We really try to hit it home, you know, 11th and 12th grade when they're, you know, see the light at the end of the tunnel, and start preparing them credit-wise. You know, we try to make sure we have meetings like, are you on track? Are we getting there? Are we getting what we need? What are you thinking after high school? Are you thinking a 4-year, 2-year trade, job force right away, gap year, kind of everything? And we're kind of getting right into the thick of it right now. We're getting into some classes and talking about classes and registration. And through our advisory, we're distributing information on, like, what do you like? You know, we're getting those interest inventories out and seeing what they're interested in. You know, they think they might be interested in doing their hair and makeup, but when it comes down to it, they really like having conversations with people.
Sure.
So trying to narrow down the different career paths that are open to them after high school and what it's going to take to get there. we've got, really useful information that we can narrow down. Do you want to be making $50,000 and go to school for 9 months? This is what the options that would be available for you. So yeah, we have those conversations kind of all year long, but we're really hitting home here in January that are going to be going out.
Every time I have a conversation with somebody from the school, any time I'm amazed at how many options are available to our students and families. Like, if you look at it, I think people would be amazed at what's out there that's already there. You don't have to rethink stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a piece of advice to anybody listening is just ask.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to force you to do anything or just give it to you.
Right.
But they're there. You're that bridge. We try and do stuff like this to get people aware, raise awareness. But it's amazing to me, from sports to academics to everything outside. It's pretty fantastic. So
we had Jamie Broman on, and he talked about really encouraging kids to have an idea of what they want to do by the time they're, because I think that's, and I hadn't really thought about it, because I think what we tended to do was say, oh, you're 18, you're young yet, you don't know what you want to do, you're young, you'll figure it out, and I've kind of shifted my thinking on that in terms of like, what do you want to do? And if you don't know what you want to do, I think meeting with Shanley at the school to say, hey, I'm concerned, I'm a junior, I'm a senior in high school, I don't really know what I want to do. And maybe just through a series of asking questions, and Shanley asks you questions, you answer them. And
is that like the old school aptitude test of like, here's what you kind of, or what are they, personality tests, like the DISC assessment? So like, here's a group of things that you would probably be. You're familiar. I'm super familiar with the DISC assessment. Industries you'd probably excel in, or hear people that you'd work well with, and I retake that every couple of years just to kind of see with our guys on our team too. It was really funny. We did a whole group thing, and it was we were on exact opposite sides of the room. They said, people on opposite corners probably shouldn't really work well together, but we do, but it's kind of knowing that about yourself and working around with others. So, anyway.
Yeah, no, I just think if you are a senior and you don't really know what you want to do, start the conversation. Yes.
Because if we don't have the immediate resource, like, we will get them. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. We have connections, and oh gosh, I used to hate it when my parents would tell me it's all about who you know, but it is. Yeah. And that's how I got to be where I am, and I will fully stand by that and continue to tell all my students that it's about making connections, no matter how small or big. It's having those resources in your back pocket to reach out to, like, hey, we met, a year ago, and we did this thing together, and most likely that person's going to remember you. Right. And if you did a good job, making that good impression, it's going to follow you, and it's going to help you in the long run.
And once you walk out the doors of BHS on the last day of your senior year, the resources aren't there anymore. I mean, as much as you would love to be able to just, continue to nurture all these 19, 20, like you have a building full of kids that need you, and take advantage of those resources and try to find some sort of a path. Yeah.
Make a favorable impression to just about as everybody as you know. Because he who burns a bridge better be a damn good swimmer. So that reminded me of it's the people you know. So, I mean, I agree with that. Yeah. Is there anything that you'd like to part with our 250,000 listeners?
Go next week, February 9th. It's going to be a huge event for our community, something that we've never really had before. And I'm so proud of what's going to be coming for you and the resources that are available, and just starting these conversations that need to happen. It's not going away, and to ignore it it's not going to do anybody any good. So it's important to start these conversations now if we haven't already. So it's going to be a great event available for everybody. It's free of charge. So come on. We've got childcare. We've got resources.
Come on down.
Yeah. You're a winner.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be great.
All right. Well, Shanley, thanks for coming in. For the Buffalo Community Podcast, I'm Tyler Reiss.
I'm Mark Benzer.
Shanley Maher.